Explainer. Today we're diving into a genuinely fascinating source text. It's this wild document that completely bridges the gap between cosmic energy, human consciousness, and a very specific spiritual mission happening right now over in Taiwan. If you're at all interested in how ancient Eastern philosophy clashes with modern existential crises, or you just love a good claim of supernatural enlightenment, you are absolutely in the right place. Because the material we're unpacking today, it's not just some dry philosophical treatise. It reads way more like a high-stakes mission briefing for the survival of the human race, and it centers around these mysterious figures and just unparalleled cosmic power.
So, here's the roadmap for today. We'll start with Toynbee III's Taiwan mission, then look at the universe's greatest power, the Tao. From there, we'll hit the link between consciousness and unlimited energy, explore the intersection of religion and science, and finally wrap up with the ultimate goal, the search for Master Wei Chu's successor. Let's get into it.
All right, Part 1, Toynbee III's Taiwan mission, a high-stakes journey. To set the stage here, the source material kicks right off by introducing us to a figure named Toynbee III, who's on this journey to Taiwan. And the text makes it crystal clear, this is not a casual vacation. The stakes are presented as astronomically high. The whole trip is framed as this crucial pivot point for the positive development of human civilization. The author actually paints a pretty grim picture of the world, explicitly listing out these looming threats, war, plague, natural disasters, man-made catastrophes. Basically, the author is asserting that the world is right on the brink, and humanity is fundamentally helpless to stop it. But what really stands out is the stark contrast the text draws between all these global crises and the completely oblivious state of humanity. It specifically points out that the Chinese population is squandering its natural gifts and that people in Taiwan are living this fortunate life without actually realizing how incredibly lucky they are. The implication is pretty heavy. People are just asleep at the wheel while the world is burning. Moving on to Section 2, the power of the Tao, the ultimate force. So with humanity supposedly facing all these overwhelming threats, the text pivots and actually offers a solution. And surprisingly, it doesn't suggest better political treaties or some new technological advancement. According to the source material, the answer lies entirely in the Tao. Now, the author doesn't just treat the Tao as some abstract, floaty philosophical concept. They identify it as literally the single greatest power in the entire universe. That's a massive claim. The text frames the Tao as this ultimate cosmic force and explicitly states that understanding and harnessing it is the absolute primary opportunity, the crucial mechanism for achieving real-world peace. But the tragedy, at least according to the author, is that the people of the world have absolutely zero recognition or understanding that this force even exists. To kind of illustrate how someone might actually access this profound power, the text drops this really fascinating quote from the Buddha. "Sitting in meditation for a moment is better than building a 7-story pagoda." The author uses this to make a brilliant point about, let's call it, spiritual economics. I mean, think about a 7-story pagoda. That represents a massive physical undertaking, right? Years of merit building. But the text argues that achieving a state of no thought, no attachment, and no action, even just for a mere moment, literally a single instant, is infinitely more powerful. The real power doesn't come from building stuff on the outside. It comes from accessing this internal state of pure emptiness. Which brings us nicely to Part 3, Consciousness, Synergy, and Unlimited Power.
To really drive home this concept of meditative power, the text uses a surprisingly intense analogy. The author compares the feeling of achieving that empty, thoughtless state to the physical sensation of grabbing high-voltage electricity. But then they take it a huge step further. We all know if you touch a high-voltage wire, the energy is so overwhelming you're dead in a split second. Well, the text claims that that physical deadly shock is practically nothing. It's just a drop in the ocean compared to the energy you access in that pure moment of meditation. In that exact instant, the author says you are actually tapping into the total energy of the universe. They really emphasize that this energy is just unimaginably vast.
The text even uses the specific English word unlimited to describe this energy. It asserts that being fully anchored in the present moment, which it translates as upon, is the literal key to unlocking this unlimited state. But here's where the source material does something highly intriguing and honestly pretty cool. It actively bridges Eastern and Western spiritual traditions. The author explicitly equates this state of upon, this unlimited cosmic energy, directly to what Jesus referred to as God or the Lord. By doing that, the text is kind of suggesting this unified theory of cosmic energy that totally bypasses regional religious boundaries. All right, Section 4, Religion and Science, a misunderstood power. So despite this energy being theoretically accessible to everyone, the text argues it has been profoundly, deeply misunderstood. The source material actually makes a really critical claim here about organized religion. It uses this striking idiom stating that religions often recognize a thief as a father. Now, what does that mean? Well, the author argues that many religions experience the really deep, powerful forces of the human subconscious, and they mistakenly believe that is the ultimate Tao or the divine power. Basically, they're mistaking a powerful internal psychological mechanism, that's the thief, for the ultimate cosmic reality, the father. According to the text, it's just a fundamental misdiagnosis of spiritual experience.
To back up the claim that this energy is absolutely everywhere, yet totally unrecognized, the text pulls in a quote from Confucius. The common people use it daily without knowing it. The point here is to highlight that our ignorance of the Tao isn't because it's hiding in a cave on a distant mountain somewhere. It's because it's so incredibly omnipresent, so heavily woven into our everyday existence, that we are completely blind to how it works and what its true potential is.
But the text doesn't. The author presents this very specific timeline. They claim that prior to 2022, the concept of consciousness had literally zero standing in the scientific community. Like, they wouldn't even touch it. However, the text asserts that the 2022 Nobel Prize in Physics fundamentally changed the game by proving a connection between consciousness and matter. Now, according to the author, this event finally gave consciousness a small foothold in the scientific world. The text uses this to argue that our modern understanding of the mind and the subconscious is still pretty primitive. But hey, at least science is finally starting to catch up to what ancient masters have supposedly known all along.
And finally, Section 5, Seeking the Successor, Master Wei Chui.
This brings us right back to the practical, real-world application of all this cosmic theory, zooming back in on Toynbee III's mission. His explicit goal? To find the directly enlightened successor of one specific figure, Master Wei Chui. The text describes Toynbee III as just buzzing with boundless excitement and anticipation over this, and the logic makes sense when you think about it. If a mere successor, someone who has only achieved enlightenment and realized the Tao, is already incredibly powerful, well, imagine the unfathomable power of a fully perfected living saint. The search for this successor is framed as an incredibly rare, once-in-a-millennium kind of opportunity.
Now, let's look at what the source text actually claims about Master Wei Chui, because it totally explains why his successor is in such high demand. The text neutrally lists out some truly mind-bending, reality-altering supernatural abilities attributed to his master. It claims he could just straight-up predict the future. It claims he could literally alter space-time to change already established facts. I mean, wow. It states that the thoughts of ordinary humans sounded as loud as roaring thunder to him, and ultimately, it claims he had the ability to know and perfectly control all events, large and small, across the entire universe, past, present, and future.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the whole narrative arc of the text. Remember, we started with a world on the absolute brink of war, plague, and disaster. Then we learned about the ultimate cosmic energy of the Tao. And right here, the text concludes that receiving the teachings from a master who possesses these unimaginable abilities is the definitive solution. The author firmly, unapologetically asserts that this, and perhaps only this, is where the true hope for world peace actually lies.
Which leaves us with this final, massive question to consider based on everything we've explored from the source material today. Does the key to ending global crises truly lie hidden within our own human consciousness and the specific teachings of enlightened masters? The text we've unpacked makes the bold claim that the answer is unequivocally yes. The true, lasting power isn't going to be found in politics or new tech, but in the silent, unlimited energy of the present moment. It is a wildly fascinating perspective that completely challenges how we view the mind, the universe, and our place in it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this deep dive into the source material has sparked your curiosity to go out and explore these concepts even further. See you next time.